Hi, I'm Colm Gorey with Siliconrepublic, and today we're looking at the Nissan Leaf, arguably the most available electric car in the market. How does it stand up today compared with some of the other models in the market, and how does it do on long distance driving? Let's go find out. Okay, so here we have the interior of the Nissan Leaf. It's quite nice. Now this is the SVE model, which is basically the top of the range. So you'll see kind of the darker shades here. But you have everything you kind of expect to see in electric cars these days. You have your sat-nav, which has proven to be quite effective. You've got your whole climate control systems here. It's almost like a cockpit, I find. When you turn this car on, you'll see all the lights up, and you've got about 50 buttons down here which cover everything from opening the power charging point to putting on even a heated steering wheel. That's one of the nice features. In terms of the steering wheel, you have all the regular controls here again. Now this is a very handy button for when you're driving in the city. So this little eco button, basically you'll notice it'll cut. Basically the accelerator takes more effort to push down because it's trying to conserve as much energy as possible, and your subsequent range is then extended, which is pretty handy in the city. But I would not advise you to take that out on the motorway, because you'll be having your foot slammed down in the accelerator and you won't be going very fast, to be honest. And you have your cruise control settings here if you have the more expensive models, like the one I have here. So that's not a standard feature. But aside from that, you've got your leather interior, which is again one of the top mods, but otherwise it would just be kind of standard seatings. So the gear stick is it's quite different. Now it's very simple once you figure out how it works, but at the beginning it might seem quite complicated, as you're wondering how to exactly start the car. So once you've pressed your foot in the accelerator and then press the power button that's over here, it's a simple case of putting it reverse is forward and drive is back, which is a little bit confusing when you're trying to start off. So if you want to drive, once your handbrake is off and everything, you just bring it down towards you. And then if you want to engage B mode, which is essentially like all the other electric cars have, where it starts generating electricity when you're braking and when you're going down hills. So just a double tap of that and you're good to go. And then once you're parked, just press P. Simple as that. So probably the Nissan Leaf's key feature in terms of it being an electric car is a system that Nissan have developed called Car Wings. So if there's a button down here that says 0 emissions, and by pressing that it'll bring up on screen, as you can see there, basically a whole list of everything you need to know about where the nearest charging stations are, how much energy the thing is consuming. So just by tapping energy information there, it tells you how much the motor is using. You can check and see how much the climate control is using. You can check the history, the most economical. It's incredible, really, the level of detail that goes into all in the computer. And then by going into the Car Wing system, this is essentially a way of setting up a lot of RSS feeds, so you can have, say, the Irish Times, or you can have another newspaper piped directly into the car through voice, using the car's own SIM card, which is installed in it, which constantly connects with Nissan's base essentially in Japan, and you can update even the stations in terms of your charging stations nearby. Now what I found, however, though, when I was outside of Dublin, that I think the stations list isn't as comprehensive as you would hope. And actually a neat feature is, if you're very concerned about how much energy you have left, there's a button here on the steering wheel, just this little button here in the top left, and by pressing that it pops up here. It basically tells you the white circle here is essentially a range, or like where it could be comfortable in, and then the grey area where it's a little less comfortable and you're going to need to start looking for recharge things. But it'll point you in the direction of the nearest charge points. So by zooming in here, you'll see these are all the charge points across Dublin. So the little smaller two-pronged ones are your standard slower charge rate, while you have here little petrol stations petrol station symbols, which are essentially the fast charge points. So it's probably the best I've seen so far in terms of the way it's laid out, and it's definitely geared more towards electric cars rather than the others. So I was pretty impressed with that overall. On the SVE model, the parking was pretty impressive, with 360-degree array of camera guiding you into tight spots that even has markers guiding you to where you should be parking. So my thoughts on the Nissan Leaf. I have to say I was pretty impressed overall. There was very little I could fault with it in terms of being an electric car. Obviously, in terms of when I was doing my long distance driving, I went down to Fermoy in Cork and needed to stop twice to recharge at the fast charge points, and you're kind of averaging about 100, maybe 100 kilometers each time. That's still an issue, obviously, if you're going to compare it to a diesel car, but it's still, it was perfectly comfortable. And once that's the other thing, that the fast charge points are there. That was a big bonus. I think the price is probably the Nissan Leaf's best factor, actually. It starts from 21,000 for the basic model. Now the model I'm driving is it's the SVE, which starts from 26,000, which has all the mod cons, including Bose speakers, and you've got even a solar panel on the roof, which is pretty impressive, although I still struggle to see what it means. But this is definitely, I'd say, the best car suited for the Irish market at the moment. Other cars like I've driven, like the Volkswagen e-Golf, the BMW i3, they're very nice, but this is the first car I can truly say is kind of designed as an electric car.